By the end of this video, you should have a clear idea of how to start selling print-on-demand products on Amazon, the world's biggest marketplace, and publish listings like this using a fulfillment partner such as Printify, Printful, or any company of your choice through Amazon, Seller Central, and FBM. Amazon gets over 2.5 billion visits per month. Obviously, fantastic opportunity for traffic. No surprise that this was the most requested video on my channel so far. And when I went through this process myself, I got rejected 3 times before I finally clocked what I did wrong and was able to successfully get my account approved. So it's not the end of the world if you get rejected, but it just goes to show that they are quite particular about this sign up process nowadays. So I'll be going into each setting in as much detail as I can. They've had to do this because a lot of scammers have been trying to access the platform. Also, there are some settings in the sign up and listing process that are extremely difficult to change once you submit them, and they don't tell you that beforehand, so I'll be warning you about all those things as we go along. To give you a complete outline in this video today, we are going to be going through a very brief introduction to selling POD on Amazon. So I'll be explaining how FBM works, which is what this video is about, but also these other terms that you may have heard of. So like FBA, merch on demand, Amazon custom, Amazon handmade, like what's the difference between all these terms and how they relate to each other, so you don't get confused when you hear them. Then we'll be moving on to the Seller Central sign up process. So what you will need before you sign up, account types, individual versus professional account, registering as an individual versus sole proprietor versus private company, and pros and cons of that, and then walking you through it. We're showing you how to set up shipping templates. We're going through GTIN and UPC exemptions. Again, don't worry if you don't know what all those words mean. All will be explained. Then I'll be talking about how to integrate your Printify account with your Seller Central account. So it's very similar for other print providers such as Printful that offer integration so that you can publish and manage products and orders from inside your Printify account if you so wish. Although personally, I do recommend manually listing products, which I'll get onto later. Then I'll be talking about brand approval and brand registry if that's something you're interested in. I would strongly recommend this for reasons that I'll get into, but just know that there is a bit of a process. For instance, you do need a trademark for brand registry. So I'll be giving you like the details of the law firm that I used, and to be honest, your lawyer should handle most of the heavy lifting here, but I'll give you a rough briefing of the timeline, the costs, so you know what to expect if you want to go through this process. Again, pitfalls to avoid, including one that cost me hundreds in legal fees. It might seem like a lot to talk about in one video, but the reason that I'm covering this is that a lot of stuff, including the brand that you set your listings to when you publish them, is impossible to change once you actually publish. So these are things that you need to be aware of before selling. Then I'll show you how to go about publishing products. There's 2 methods to do this. One I definitely prefer. I would not recommend you push products directly from inside Printify to Amazon or Printful to Amazon for reasons that I'll get onto. I will show you a different method. Then we'll be talking about user permission, so how to allow other people, like a virtual assistant, to post to your Amazon account in a safe and secure way, because unlike Etsy, this is something that Amazon actually lets you do, so I think you should take advantage of it. And finally, because this can be a bit of a complex process if it's your first time, there are services that you can turn to for help if you get stuck along the way. Just services that I trust, I'll be recommending. Not sponsored or anything. I'll talk briefly about those at the end should you need them. So that's what we're going to be covering. Now this is going to be a long video, as you can imagine, so I want to set expectations straight beforehand. No, you cannot sell POD on Amazon Seller Central for 100% free, okay? You can get free organic traffic from their marketplace, as in you don't have to pay for advertising to get traffic, but there will be mandatory costs associated with things like the seller account and brand approval and registry if you want to go down that route. Now, in my opinion, I think it's a worthy investment to gain access to the world's biggest marketplace, but if you are looking for a 100% free way to sell, this is not for you. Check out my videos on other POD marketplaces that may be more applicable for your situation, which should be on my channel. For the rest of us, I'll leave timestamps to each of the sections below. If you find this free content helpful, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Turn on the notifications to get alerts about new videos. You can also sign up for a new Printify or Printful account with my affiliate links below. So if you make some sales, then I make some commission from that at no cost to you. Don't feel like you have to, but the support is always appreciated. Now let's get started. So when people sell products like this on Amazon, whether it's print-on-demand products or things like electronics, fitness equipment, most products that you can find on Amazon, they publish them through a Seller Central account. In your Seller Central account, you can list items, you can set your item's title, your images, etc., and manage all your listings and settings as well. Now, when you post a listing through Seller Central, there's two fulfillment methods that you can choose, which are FBM, which stands for Fulfillment by Merchant. This is an example of an FBM listing, which means you are shipping products directly to your customer. This can be shipping from your house or a fulfillment center, such as one of the Printify companies, providers. For this, you have to set your own shipping templates, and this lets you ship things one by one, such as it's just like selling on Etsy or eBay. And this is the method that we will be using as print-on-demand sellers, which is FBM. Now, FBM listings can be converted to FBA, which stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. This means that you ship inventory in bulk, for example, like 50 mugs to Amazon's warehouse, and then Amazon will store them and ship them out for you to the customer instead of them coming from Printify or your house. So here, you don't have to worry about shipping to individual customers or customer service anymore, but obviously there's a bigger risk up front because you have to bulk purchase inventory. Now you can use FBM listings to test, and if you find a winning design, you can change that listing to FBA and then purchase inventory up front to make bigger profits on each sale because you know that it sells. And you can also get bulk discounts from a lot of these providers. With FBA, you will make sales more easily because FBA listings are Prime eligible, but there are storage fees associated with this. We won't be going through FBA in this video, but just know that that's an option down the line. Now, when you sell via FBM or FBA, the product can either be branded or generic. So this listing is an example of a branded product. And if it's branded, you can get your own storefront on Amazon that looks something like this. And this can also rank on Google. So there's actually a place where your competitors' products aren't all over your listings for once, as well as A+ content in your descriptions that helps you convert better. So in order to get all of this, and a bunch of other benefits, you have to apply for brand approval and then brand registry, which I'll go through in this video. You don't have to be brand approved or registered to sell on Amazon. You can sell as generic, but the reason that I'd recommend thinking about whether you want to get this early on is that the brand of products published cannot be changed after. So if you publish something as generic and then decide that you want it to be under your brand later on, you can't edit that and you have to make a new listing, which would be annoying if you've uploaded like thousands of listings and they've all started ranking in the Amazon algorithm. Now for FBM listings, you can also add an option to customize, for example, to add a name or photo to a design, something like this, and it's super easy to do with print on demand. It's a great way to differentiate from the competition, especially since you'll have slower shipping times as an FBM seller. And this is accessed through the Amazon custom program. So after you've set up your Seller Central account, if you want to sell customizable POD products, you can go to this page and just register here. I remember this was a pretty quick process. When I applied, I got accepted immediately. And on your FBM Seller Central listings, if you want to create a custom product, you just select yes in does this product have customization under product details. Then that will give you a new tab and let you edit additional custom fields. Now, you may have heard of people talk about Amazon Handmade as an alternative to Etsy, which is another thing that requires registration with a Seller Central account. But don't get confused, because this is not for custom POD products. This is for like proper handmade stuff like this, right? So if you're selling custom POD, we're using FBM via Seller Central with Amazon Custom, just so that's clear, not Amazon Handmade. Now, something else you may have heard of is Amazon Merch on Demand, which used to be called Merch by Amazon. This is a completely separate thing, okay? It's a different account from Seller Central. Your products here are 100% printed and shipped by Amazon. And if you want to access this, you have to apply separately for this program. Now, while this is more passive and all your products are Prime, the products are limited and you have less control, so they're sold under Amazon and not your own brand. So Not everyone can get into this program. I've been rejected quite a few times from this, pretty much given up on this now. And I know a lot of other people have. So Seller Central is a fantastic alternative. I would argue better, not just because I got rejected from Merch by Amazon, but because you can actually have a lot more control and you're generally less likely to get suspended. You can actually see your account health. Now, before we move on, are you in a country that's eligible to get a Seller Central account? The answer is very likely yes. So the countries on screen right now should all be able to sign up, unless you are in Russia or Belarus. You could probably guess why. So before we start going through the sign up process together, there's 3 important decisions you'll have to make beforehand, which are number 1, the seller plan, and number 2, which market you want to sell in, and number 3, whether you want to sell as a business or individual. So I'll go through those now. Firstly, there's 2 Seller Central selling plans, which are the individual and professional seller plan. Now, individual is free, but you'll charge per item sold, while professional is about $30 per month, which gives you access to more features. Now, as a POD seller, you have to select professional because you need to set shipping profiles, and you probably want to integrate with a provider as well. And both things you cannot do on an individual plan. So unfortunately, that's a non-negotiable. Now, to explain how different marketplaces work, Amazon has separate site extensions for like the UK, amazon.co.uk, the US, amazon.com, mexico.mx, canada.ca, and so on, right? So my account, for example, is registered on amazon.com, which by extension grants me access to amazon.mx, Canada as well. But for any other countries, I will need to apply separately. Now, if you sell on Amazon.com, you can still sell internationally to countries other than Canada and Mexico and the US. And that can be done when you set up shipping, we'll see later. But the product will only be listed on Amazon.com or .ca.mx, okay? So yeah, I'll show you what I mean later when we set up shipping profiles, but it's good to be aware of this before you start the sign-up process. So consider which market you actually want to sell it. And finally, during the sign-up process, they will ask you what type of business you have. Now, it's very difficult to change this later. The ones you're probably choosing between are the privately owned business, that includes LTD or LLC, sole proprietor, or individual. Now, I mean, unless you have a public company that's IPO'd, in which case, good for you. But essentially, it's these 3. And the difference between a sole proprietor and an individual is that a sole proprietor is registered for self-employment tax self-assessment, which you should be if you're running a business. Individual is typically for selling one-off items like old stuff, old shoes and CDs and stuff. You shouldn't really be using this to run a business, sell print on demand. Now, in my opinion, okay, you should ideally open an LTD or LLC company and apply it as a private company. Now, I know it takes paperwork, it takes time and money, 2 things people hate spending, I get it, right? But the benefits are that you get taken a lot more seriously by Amazon customer support. If you ever have any issues, they will ask you, like, are you a business? And if you want to employ people or sell the business down the line, that will be easier as well. You will be paying less in taxes as you sell more. At least, you know, if you're an LTD in the UK, that's the case. And also if another seller sues you, then you won't get your personal assets taken away. I highly recommend that you go and open a limited company before you start selling on Amazon. But it's up to you, obviously. You can skip all that and sell as a sole proprietor if you wish. But just remember that it's difficult to change later on. Now, we're nearly there, but before we get started, there's 5 things you'll need to hand for the sign-up process. So a valid ID or passport. Make sure your ID is in date and signed with your signature. Now, when I applied first time, my passport was not signed, and that was the reason that I got rejected multiple times. So I signed the passport and then I got approved. The problem was that if you get rejected, they won't tell you the reason, so it's up to you to figure it out, and issues with your ID are the most common reasons that I've read about in online forums, at least, because I was looking through a lot of those when I signed up. Like, I almost gave up selling on Amazon after resubmitting it a bunch of times, so could you imagine if I couldn't sell on Amazon just because I didn't sign my passport and I never realized? But luckily I did eventually, and so it's just one of those things that you've got to check through. Bank account, credit card, and sell, pretty self-explanatory. Business registration number. Now, this is not mandatory. You only require this if you sign up as a business, which we've been through, and I said I recommend. But you'll be able to find this on your official document that's issued when you register your company, if you do that. So you've got those things, let's get started. Go to Amazon Seller Central and click on sign up. and then create account and enter your details. And you might have to do a little puzzle and verify your email. You'll also have to enter your mobile phone number for one-time password authentication, and then you can start the application process. Now, I'll be using screen caps from now on because I don't want to keep blurring out all my personal information on Premiere Pro, which takes ages. So once you've registered, click on Get Started, and then choose your business location and the type of business. Now, I actually saw in the official Printify tutorial that they told everyone to select US. But obviously, if you're not in the US, do select the country that you're living in or that your business is registered, like basically the country that you pay taxes in. And it has to match the location on your ID document. Now, you can still sell to Amazon.com or .mx or .ca if you don't select US here. Then we select the type of business. We've gone through this. If you have an LTD, LLC, then enter privately owned business, otherwise skip that and select sole proprietor. Then it will just tell you what you need, which are the things that I've gone through. So I've selected individual just to get through this tutorial, but if you've selected private business, then it should say all these things and the registration number as well. So tick the box and agree and then continue. There will be 4 parts to this registration. So from now on, it should be pretty self-explanatory. Go through the form and fill in your personal information. One thing to point out here though is that your name on here needs to match the name on your ID. So when you register your company, the primary person listed as the director or primary shareholder or person with significant control, that has to match your name exactly as well. It'll then tell you to add your bank account for payout deposits and a credit or debit card to pay for your $30 per month professional seller account fee. So enter those things. And then you'll be asked to enter your store name. Now, this is one of the few things that you can actually change in your settings later once you've created your account, so don't worry about this too much. Next, it says, do you have UPCs for all your products? That stands for Universal Product Code. So like a barcode, basically, that identifies products sold on Amazon. But because we're doing print on demand, none of our products have UPCs. They're printed on demand. So select no. Do you have any diversity certifications? You'll probably know if you do. I selected no for this one. Next, are you the manufacturer or brand owner? If you are planning to apply for brand approval or registry, then select yes, otherwise no, and then click on next. You'll then be asked to verify your identity by uploading a photo of your ID and your bank statement as proof of address. Now, you may be asked to take a photo of your face or join a video call with an Amazon employee to verify that you're a real person. This is the part that people get stressed about. I actually didn't have to join a video call when I applied. I just had to take a photo of my face. So I kind of got lucky there. But if you are asked to join a call, what I've read on forums is that they can ask you to show your documents like live on screen. So make sure you have them to hand for the call. I mean, if you get to this point, you should be fine. But then again, like, I haven't gone through it myself. So yeah, if you look on online forums, there should be a lot of helpful advice there. Then you'll have to wait for Amazon to approve your account. Can take a few hours to a few weeks is what I've heard, which is not very helpful. But for me, it took a few days to tell them that my ID was rejected, and then took like another day to actually get accepted once I'd signed my passport. But then you should get an email like this and you should be able to log into your Seller Central. So once you have your account, the next thing to do is to set up shipping templates. So hover over the cog in the top right, click on shipping settings, and then general shipping settings, and then change the default shipping address to Printify, which is this address, or whatever your provider is. Now for order fulfillment settings, these are the settings that I have. You can change them if you want. Feel free to fulfill on weekends. Now scroll down, and for handling time, we will be able to change this later on when we actually upload listings. I'll show you that later, but for now I've selected default handling time to 2 days. And I've set up buyer auto cancellation window to 0.5 hours. So then scroll up and click on shipping templates once you're done with the general shipping settings, and then click on create new shipping template. Click on OK. You might get this shipping settings automation pop up. Just click on cancel. We're going to set them up manually. And then you will have to name the shipping template. So name it something sensible, like the provider that you're using, for example, Monster Digital for t-shirts, or just the product or country, whatever makes sense to you, and select item, rate, model. And for the rest of the shipping settings, you can select based on your provider or whatever shipping you want really, but I'll be showing you mine for reference. So I do free shipping for the US and only charge shipping for international. Here I've ticked the free economy section. Make sure to select all the states. Tick PO box as well and set to 4 to 8 days transit time. This might be a little bit different depending on what Amazon constrains you to. It has changed a few times, but I try to select the longest one basically. Amazon penalizes you for late shipments. That says excluding handling time, and that is a separate thing, so I'll show you how to set that up when you actually upload a listing. I think it's definitely better to extend beyond the time frame that Printify gives you in case the package arrives late, because it's really important to keep your account health safe. Standard shipping has to be selected again here, so enter rates if you want, depending on what your supplier charges, but I've just kept it all free here. So make sure all 50 states are selected and click on add new region if they're not. I've also ticked expedited shipping and set that to 3 to 5 days, usual delivery to the US locations anyway. And I'm charging $1.99 per order for that. And I've unticked 1 and 2 day delivery because that is definitely not possible with print on demand yet. Now select international shipping standards. So most Printify providers can ship internationally as well as Printful, even if you're just selling on Amazon.com. For example, you can still buy from Europe, but it will just be on the .com site. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So here I've selected Canada with 10 to 20 days and $4.99 per order. And then a bunch of European and Oceania countries because it costs a lot more to ship to those. I've set $9.99 per order plus $2.99 per item. But yeah, make sure you select per item instead of per pound if you're charging shipping for additional items. And then click on save and you should see your new template in the shipping settings. Now, if you start selling a new item with different shipping costs, then you should create a different shipping template. Now I'll be showing you how to get a UPC exemption for your print-on-demand products, which we've gone through, you don't need. So you can scroll up and hit the hamburger menu on the top left, and then this menu should pop up. So move your mouse over catalog and click on add products. On your list products page, click on blank form and then click start. And you can start on the product identity page by just typing in the name of your item in the title. Now, when you write the title of your item, Amazon should suggest a product type for you. It should be correct. And then click on that product type. Don't worry about the brand name or anything else yet. We're just doing the UPC exemption. So the important thing to click on is I don't have a product ID, and then click on next and you should get this pop up. Click on acknowledge and you should be able to get a UPC exemption. Next, we're going to connect our Printify account to Amazon and integrate. I don't want to use my Printify account for this because I've already connected my store and I don't want to make another one either. So I'm just going to show you the screen caps from Printify's website and talk you through it. First, you log into your Printify account and then hover over your shop name and click manage my stores. Then connect a new store, click on Amazon, check the box, click confirm, check the box that says I have requested the GTIN exemption, which we just did, and then complete setup and your account should now be connected. So let's talk about branding. So selling as generic is fine, but you can also list products under a brand. So there's 2 processes to go through in order for your products to be recognized as branded on Amazon. That can either be your own brand or somebody else's. Firstly, we've got brand approval. So that's just the process of being able to list products under a brand name on the marketplace. And this can be your own brand like Johnny's Tumblers, or an existing brand if you're selling, for example, shirts by Comfort Colors or Gildan, which you can list other brands as well. Now, brand approval is not the same thing as brand registry, which is a much more thorough process. So for brand registry, you need to submit a trademark in the market that you're selling in. The benefits of brand registry are that you are officially recognized by Amazon. You have much greater power to take down products or designs that you feel infringe on your brand. You also get a bunch of tools such as advanced analytics, A+ content, sponsored brands, and you can have your own storefront as well on Amazon, as we saw. So if that's something that you like, then what I would recommend is apply for brand approval first, which is free, but you have to submit photos of the product. I'll go into more detail. And once you start getting sales or you have enough money, you can go through the brand registry process, and I'll be going through both in this video. So thinking about brand names, if you are planning to apply for brand registry down the line, then remember you have to submit a trademark in order to get brand registered on Amazon. And one of the reasons that trademarks get rejected or your lawyer won't even let you apply in the first place is if the brand name is too similar to an existing trademark. So I suggest going on the USPTO website and searching for your store and brand name. Obviously, you can name your brand whatever the heck you want and still make money. But down the line, like when you make more sales, and if you want to differentiate, if you want to have your logo on the products and word of mouth marketing, it's really good to have a recognizable brand by keeping the name consistent across different platforms. At least that was definitely something that was important to me, because I'd sold thousands of units on Etsy and my own website before I'd signed up to Amazon. So the name had actually built up like a very small amount of brand equity. But in my case, it ended up being too similar to another trademark on the first search. Now, I did find a solution for this eventually, which I'll explain. It's kind of a long story, but it ended up costing me hundreds in extra legal fees. Even if you do search, your lawyer could still find something that you haven't found, but at least you can say that you've done your due diligence, right? So after you've decided on a brand name that's hopefully not clashing with another trademark, let's go through brand approval. So to start the process, we're going to go to list a new product. So go to the catalog and then add products. Again, select blank form and then enter the item name and select the product type. This time enter the brand name and select I don't have a product ID. Click on next and you should see this button pop up. Click on apply to sell and you should see a form like this. So as it says, you can read all the requirements, but basically you need to buy a sample of your product and submit a photo of it. What I did, and what you can do as well, is just print a mug with my logo on it and then take a picture of all the sides. It can't be a mock-up and it can't be AI generated. It has to be a real life photo that you've taken like with your iPhone or whatever. Now, even if you're not selling mugs or you don't want your logo on your products, that doesn't matter. This photo is literally just to get brand approved. Once you're brand approved, you can sell whatever you want, logo or not, you just need to get in. But obviously, if you're selling an existing brand like a Gildan shirt and applying for approval for that, you need to buy the shirt and then show the label in the photo. Once you fill this out, click submit, and they will let you know whether you are successfully registered in like a few days. Now on to brand registry. So the biggest part of this is getting the trademark, which is required for the brand registry. And to do that, I would strongly recommend you getting a lawyer that specializes in trademarks for the market that you're selling in. If you want to file a US trademark, but you are not a US citizen like me, then you have to have a lawyer representing you anyway. But if you are a US citizen, you can file it by yourself, but it's not something that I would recommend you doing, because if your trademark gets rejected, you could get the brand registry taken away and then you're going to have to spend more money to reapply. So might as well get it done right the first time round. So the first thing that your lawyer will ask you for is proof of commerce under your chosen brand name, which means that you have to have sold at least one product under this brand name. So for me, I used my Etsy shop, which was the same as the brand name that I was applying for. I just gave him a link to one of my product pages, which clearly showed that the product had reviews. If you haven't sold any products yet, do not buy your own products on Etsy or eBay. This will get you banned. I would suggest you setting up a website like a WooCommerce or Shopify website, maybe like get your mum to buy something and then review it, and then send him the link to one of those products. Next step is the trademark search. So I've already shown you the USPTO website, which you can use to check that your trademark isn't too similar to another brand's. But your lawyer will also do a more in-depth search, and this search is a lot more thorough. So my lawyer actually gave me percentages of how likely the brand was to succeed in the application process based on the searches that he did. Now, my first search came with the additional package for free, but any additional searches cost me $175 each. Now, as I've explained, I've sort of made sales on Etsy and my own website, so I wanted to keep the brand name consistent on Amazon. However, the first search came back as being too similar to another trademark. I reluctantly changed the name slightly, which meant that I had to redo the whole proof of commerce. So I set up a WordPress website, bought one of my own products under that brand, only to get it searched and discover that it was still a bit too similar to another brand. I changed the name a bit again, got another search, and then spent an extra $350 to finally realize that the best thing to do in my case was to actually keep my original brand name, but just change the class of trademark instead. So I asked him to do a search in the class that I was not selling in, and it finally got approved. Now, you might be like, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of the trademark to protect your intellectual property in the category that you're selling in? So for me, the only purpose was to get Amazon brand registry. Remember that once you get Amazon brand registry, no matter which class you sell in, you still get those extra privileges to take down products that violate your IP, and you want all those other benefits of brand registry. So moral of the story, if your brand name comes back as too similar to another brand, consider changing the class first, it will probably save you a lot of money. Next step, your lawyer files a trademark with USPTO, leave that to them, and they should come back to you with a document that says it's been filed with the serial number. And after that, Amazon will let you enroll in brand registry about a week after the trademark was filed and you get the serial number. So it's pretty fast moving from then on. You take the serial number that your lawyer gave you and start filling out the brand registry form for your brand that should have already been approved. Now, after the trademark gets filed, the approval of the trademark itself by the USPTO to put on the Gazette and Principal Register takes about a year to get done. So mine literally just got approved like 3 weeks ago. But as I said, you don't need to wait for the trademark to get approved to apply for brand registry. All you need is that serial number after it's been filed, and you just need to wait like a week. But if your trademark gets rejected, then you may experience problems with your brand registry status down the line. So that's why it's important to make sure that it's done properly. Now, you'll probably see a lot of cheap trademark lawyers on Fiverr and stuff like that, but I would recommend someone that actually specializes in e-commerce. And the law firm that I used was called eKabili. They're actually an Amazon service provider, so they specialize in getting trademarks for people applying for Amazon brand registry. Fees are probably a little bit higher, but they are very thorough with the searches, and they have done this a lot of times, so they have experience in this. I'll leave a link to them down below. I'm not being paid to promote them or anything. Obviously, you don't have to use them. It's just my suggestion for a service. Now, the official cost of filing a trademark application is $350 in USPTO fees. If you are going with a lawyer, then I also paid $690 professional fee. So that's a total of $1,040. Obviously, yours is going to vary depending on the lawyer that you used. And this came with one trademark name availability search. I did 3 extra searches. So at $175 each, that came out to a total of $1,565. Obviously, your costs may differ, but they're likely to be in the region of $1,000 to $2,000 to file this trademark and brand registry. So just to give you an idea of the kind of numbers that you're expecting, remember that if you're not ready for this, you can do the brand approval first. And then once you start selling, you can then do brand registry. Now let's get on to actually uploading products. So you can do this through Seller Central or from inside your Printify account. I personally think that it's a lot better to learn how to do the listing process fully from inside Seller Central, just like every other seller. This gives you a lot more control and the flexibility to customize, so to set a brand rather than use generic, which is what you'll be using if you push products from Printify, and to even use different print providers to fulfill the same product. So you're not tied down to a fulfillment partner such as Printify or Printful if they're out of stock or something. So I will be walking you through that process now. So in your Seller Central account, go to the 3 bars in the top left, click on catalog and then add products. Again, click on blank form and start. Now, before you fill in anything, make sure all attributes is turned on in the left-hand corner and then enter the name of your product. If you have a brand name, that should come first in the title. Then you can do keyword research to see what keywords the best sellers are using, or you can use Printify's AI title generator to come up with keywords that they've already sort of analyzed the best sellers. I'll show you how to do that now. So if you go to your Printify account, the catalog, and select an item to start designing. So make your design such as this and then save your product. And then you will see a button that says generate with AI. So click on that. Then you just describe what your design and product is and then click on generate. And it should come up with something like this. So just copy and paste that into your title in Seller Central. But remember, if you have a brand name, put that at the front of the title, because on your listing, you might see later, it's actually gonna like put your brand name above and in bold. And if this is too long, you can obviously like delete some keywords. And then Amazon should hopefully suggest a sensible product type for you, which should be correct. And then if your product has variations, select this product has variations. For me, none of my product has variations because there's no restrictions on the amount of listings that you can post. It's not like Etsy where you have to pay 20 cents per listing. So I just want to post as many products as possible. Each variation can be a separate product. But feel free to tick this, obviously, if you do want variations. And obviously, if you're selling like different size t-shirts, you're going to have variations. You're not selling each one separately, right? Then enter the brand name if you have one. If not, then just tick this product does not have a brand name. Remember, you won't be able to change this later on. So either get your brand approved and use it, or just decide that you will upload this as a generic listing and it will be like that forever. And then tick I don't have a product ID and click on next. And then you'll be asked to upload a product description. If you don't have enough space, you can click on add more, and then it'll give you like more boxes to write your description and bullet points. I would definitely consider adding quite a few bullet points because these are used for Amazon SEO. For the description, you can just copy and paste what the Printify AI generates you, or use the HTML code, or add fancier things or A+ content if you are brand registered. Next, we're moving on to product images. So for the product images, you are allowed 9, but if you have A+ content, you can add more images to your description. Now, they do have image requirements, so ideally they're larger than 1,000 pixels on each side, but they do have to be 500 to 10,000 pixels on either side. They also allow JPEGs, PNGs, GIFs, and TIFFs, whatever those are, but they have to be clear, have no jagged edges. Printify has very clear images, but if your print provider doesn't have good images, then I would suggest using something like Topaz Photo AI to upscale your images. I'll leave a link to that in the description. I like using that upscaler. Otherwise, just take a photo of your product and literally make your own mock-up. It's worth going through the rest of the guidelines carefully for the main product images. I won't be reading this all out to you. You can go through it in your own time. But the most important thing to point out is that background of your main image must be pure white. So that's RGB values 255. You need to show the product as 85% of the image. Can't have any bits cut off. You shouldn't include packaging unless it's an important feature. And I don't think that will be the case in print on demand. And if you're selling clothing in adult sizes, they need to be on a model. So the Printify mockups should do fine. On the right here are some examples of acceptable main image mockups. If you see shirts that are not on a model, they're most likely the merch on demand shirts. Next is the product details. Obviously, a lot of stuff to fill out that's specific to your product wherever you're selling. So we won't be going through every single thing with you today, but it should be pretty obvious based on the product. Again, make sure all attributes is selected so that you can actually see everything that you have to fill out. If you're registered for Amazon Custom, then you can select yes, my product can be customized, and you'll have an additional tab to fill out. Next part is your offer. So again, make sure that all attributes is selected on the left, and we'll go through this. So firstly, a contribution SKU is a reference for yourself. For example, mug number 1, t-shirt 2. You can leave this blank if you want, and they will give you a random one. So for quantity, you can put something like 500, 900, because it's print on demand, just something that won't run out. Now, handling time is the time between when the customer places the order to when you will ship it. So that means that you actually have a tracking link to upload to Amazon. Now, for handling time, I would recommend putting 5 or more days if you're using Printify. Probably more if you're using other print providers. If we just take a look at some of my recent orders fulfilled using Printify, we can see that. So if we look at the column that says sent to production, sometimes they are shipped on the day, which is fantastic. Sometimes they're shipped 2 days in production, and a couple of times they're shipped 4 or more days in production. I have had like 6 or 7 days. So I would recommend setting handling time to 5 or more days just to be safe. There's no restock date. Then set your price if you want to do a sale price and start a sale. That's up to you. I haven't filled that in. Ignore the offer release date. Offering condition type will be new, and the list price will be the same as your price, so ignore the other boxes. You will only have to fill it out if there's a blue star next to it. Gift options will probably be no unless your specific provider offers it. I know that some Printify providers do. Fulfillment channel, this is FBM, so click on I will fulfill this item myself. You can always change it to FBA if it starts to sell well. And then the rest of it, you're going to have to fill out yourself because I don't know your item dimensions. Now for the next tab, which is safety and compliance, put country of origin as USA. Printify currently only lets you sell from USA providers to Amazon customers. Obviously, no batteries are required. Dangerous good regulations are not applicable, and then you can leave the rest. Once you're done filling out all the sections, scroll to the bottom and click submit. And that product should appear in your inventory. Now, just to warn you, this can take anywhere from 10 minutes to 24 hours. Do not re-upload the product again. I remember when I uploaded my first FBM product because it wasn't there. When I refreshed, it had no photos, a bunch of errors. And when I clicked on it, it said product unavailable on Amazon or something. So I submitted the product again like 5 times thinking that I'd done something wrong. And then by that time, of course, the photos had appeared and all the errors were gone and the products were available. So just be patient. Your listing will look something like this. Now, I want to show you some settings that you can only access after you publish the listing. Super annoying, I know, but it's just how it is. It has to be done after you upload. So if you click on the three dots on the right and then edit listing and make sure all attributes is selected, go to the offer tab and then scroll to the bottom and you'll see this, which is where you can manage offers in all the other marketplaces that you've elected to sell in, as well as your shipping templates. So you can set the prices here. If you want to change your shipping template or customization information, you can do that from the inventory page as well. And my favorite feature, copy listing. So once you've created your first listing for products once, you can just copy everything you've set as many times as you want to make any new listings. But obviously if you're uploading a different product, you'll want to create a blank new listing, right? And finally, to make sure your listing is live, click on the link here and that should take you to your live listing, and you can set the delivery address to somewhere in the US to check that you can actually add to cart and buy it. Now, if your page does not look like this, if it's not live or available for delivery, wait at least 48 hours. Don't panic and upload the listing 10 times, okay? Some sellers may be wondering about the buy box, which is this portion here. Now, if your listing looks something like this instead with no buy box, it may be because of any of these reasons. And if you've been following this tutorial, it shouldn't be because of any of the others except for this one. Most likely your seller account is not old enough. It is not because of FBM. So as long as you are selling a unique and new product, you are eligible to get the buy box, so you do not have to be FBA to get a buy box, okay? So that is how to list a product with FBM. It does take a while to fill out everything the first time, but then you can just copy the listings from then on, and it gives you a lot more control over which fulfillment partner you use. It lets you set your own brand. It makes sure all the settings are actually configured properly rather than just pushing a bunch of listings through your print provider. You can also bulk upload products via a spreadsheet if you create all your own images and descriptions in advance. I prefer to just upload manually at the moment. Now let's talk about user permissions. So one really cool thing that Amazon lets you do is outsource securely by letting other people post products or manage your account, and you can choose exactly what areas of your account that they can access. And this also avoids them having to log in through your account, because switching IPs for e-commerce websites is really bad. This is all around just a great security feature. So in your Seller Central, go to the settings cog and click on user permissions. And then here you can enter the name and email of the person that you want to invite, and they will be added up here. And then click on manage permissions for the external person. And here you can choose exactly what they can and can't do. So for example, my virtual assistant can change my images, manage my inventory, A+ content, but they can't manage refunds. And once you're done setting permissions, click continue to save. Now there's quite a few steps in this process. So if you need help at any point, then I'll link you to some services. I'm not sponsored by them for this video, but firstly, you can request an Amazon account rep through Printify to help you walk through the account setup and ask them any questions. Now, this is not a service that I personally use, so I don't have much experience with this, but Printify does recommend them, something that you may find helpful. And once you actually get a Seller Central account, Amazon has a help service. So the sellercentral.amazon.com/help center is actually helpful in my experience. Like, you can get on a text chat with them. They seem to know what they're doing, unlike Etsy seller support, who just regurgitate the same AI bot generated stuff every time. If you want a list of websites that you can sell print on demand on and get free traffic just by uploading, check out this video on screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.